What's up, everybody? Real With Omar. Special guest today, celebrity chef, actor, writer, and businessman. You know me, owner of HDR Capital, funded over $500 million myself, sold tons of millions of dollars in real estate, and always talking about real stories, real people, real time. Eric Arriola, thank you for coming on the show.
No problem.
Right now they do like a drum roll. Right?
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. We met at Up New York City. Shout out to Fat Joe.
Yes.
We were doing it. It was an AI. Actually, it was a year ago.
Yeah. In April. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
About a year ago,
Right.
and it was an AI thing. They're previewing AI, what's coming, and stuff like that. We all kind of met there, and then luckily enough, he was able to meet me here at the podcast studio to talk about what he has going on.
Yes, sir.
We were just talking about cancel culture, but there's so much to go over.
Look, we talked about a few
we talked about a few things.
Yeah.
All right, let's first talk about a piece of content that you did that got my attention.
Okay.
All right. The piece of content was you going to ShopRite, and it wasn't like a produced piece of content. It was just you ranting, right?
Right.
So the rant was basically, yo, what's going on, man?
Right.
You said people are online for job interviews, and you take it from there.
Right. So first off, shout out to ShopRite.
Shout out to ShopRite.
I did a competition with them not too long ago. But yeah, I walked into ShopRite. Like you said, I wasn't looking to like make content or whatever. I was just going to go get bread, whatever I was doing.
And shopping.
Right. So I noticed in one of the aisles they had like a job interview table set up, and I'm looking at the people like, okay, and then I'm looking and I see pajamas, I'm seeing sweatsuits, sweatshirts, flip flops. I was like, how did we get here? How did we get to the point that people just don't care? I'm from a different time.
Yeah.
You walk, even if it was a job to McDonald's.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 38 years old. Sorry, I forget sometimes. Yeah. These years are piling up. So it's like, I
had to think
lose
about that
count.
1 second.
Look, 38 years old. But like when I was 16, I started working at 14.
Right.
I remember applying to McDonald's at 16. And I'm still waiting for them to call me back. But yeah, shout out to McDonald's.
Shout out.
But I took it seriously, you know what I mean? I think it was a schedule thing, but I'm saying all that to say you put your best foot forward. You walk in with your suit and your tie. This is more to the young people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You separate yourself from the pack, because a lot of people are going to do that. They're going to walk in with the flip flops, the headband, but at the same time, you want the job and you want to be competitive, and you want them to see you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See you in your best light. I think to add to that, just showing up, because you hear all these inspirational things on the internet. Just show up. Show up every day. Yeah, you should show up. Absolutely. That's the minimum.
Right.
The minimum, right? I remember I was going to there was a pilot program for I use the term credit facility. So it was a larger bank. I own a bank. So a larger bank was willing to test these programs with 3 smaller banks, right? So we had to go get interviewed. Going back to your story, so I'm just gonna give you my little experience with it. So it was a rainy day. I remember that. This was in Steinway Street in Queens. I lived in Westchester. So I make my way there and I show up. It's crazy rainy. Like, I remember that because I was all wet and stuff like that. And I walk in and I meet the president of the bank and the 2 other guys that were supposed to be there. I'm there 10 minutes early, because if you're not early, you're late. Right. That's where I come from. Right.
Yeah, same.
So I got there early and whatever. The guy who arranged the meeting met me at the front. Omar, come in. So I meet the guy. He's there smoking, what do you call it? E-cigarettes? Whatever. You know how like, you have these memories, so you got to kind of give you the whole spiel.
Oh, yeah.
So he's the president of this larger bank. They lend millions of dollars a month. And it was a pilot program. Anyway, so out of the 3, I was there physically. One guy said he called in, with the weather, I'm not going to be able to make it.
Okay.
The other guy, I don't even think he picked up the phone.
Okay.
So out of the 3, I was qualified. I was the one who got it. Why? Because I showed up.
Showing up.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm just giving you that example, like how people disqualify themselves all the time. When it was raining. Bro, it rains, it snows, it is what it is.
I mean, that's life. You know what I mean? Like they say, part of being successful is showing up. And the other part is like, kind of like we were talking about, doing the work.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not enough to show up. You got to be prepared.
Right.
But showing up, a lot of people, like you said, they discount themselves just by not even showing up, or even worse, being late. Like, I don't know which one is worse. Late, I guess late is not as bad as not showing up.
If you're late and you have a real reason, okay.
There's no such thing as a real reason.
I've had people show up after car crashes. And I
Hey, that's a really
yeah,
good
and
okay, my
yeah,
bad,
and I'm
sorry.
giving them
Yeah.
grace. I'm like, "Yo, I
Gotcha,
feel you," and
gotcha.
they're like, "Yo,
Did you ask for pictures?
yeah, no,
Oh,
they
okay.
they come with the pictures.
Okay,
Yo, today's
gotcha.
report. Oh, da, da, da. I got
Gotcha,
it. All
gotcha.
right, man. You know, like this is life, right?
Right,
But
right.
on the other side of that is that when people, when I say people, this is like this generation I'm speaking to, they're always looking for the why not instead of the why how. Like
Okay.
why can't you or why not you?
Okay, gotcha.
And to the thing, I'm a big Jim Rohn fan. I don't know if you follow him.
I follow everybody, but I don't remember everybody by name.
Jim Rohn was Tony Robbins' mentor,
Okay,
right?
gotcha.
So like he goes way back, but he's like, people always say why, and then the question should be why not? Why not?
Right.
Why not you? Why can't you be? Why not be the best? Why not be the one?
Wait, is that the older white guy?
Yeah,
Oh, I
Jim
listen
Rohn.
to him all the time.
Yeah,
Oh man, yeah, I think I remember reading about him.
yeah,
When he passed away,
yeah,
and
he
it
was
was
the
just
man.
like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
He
I
was the
listened
man.
to him a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
not?
yeah.
And all those words resonate with me all the time because I'm like, yo, and like today was cold for whatever reason,
It's freezing,
and
but
some shit
okay.
was happening in my business, or which is giving me a bit of a headache. And when you have those days where things are not, I use the metaphor of basketball all the time, like the shots ain't dropping easily.
Okay, gotcha.
You got to figure out a way to get around that, right? And my way is to get up, even if I move slower. I just don't stop moving.
Right,
And I use this other metaphor where there's certain days that you're gonna run up your score, right, to win, and there's other days you just gotta keep the lead,
right.
right? So just today I was keeping the lead, but now based on like the texts and all the phone calls I had previously, the score's about to get run up again, right? But if you can be conscious of yourself and start operating in that
Right,
way,
right.
I think you can change your life. And going to you, like you said something earlier that really interested me. I want to open it up. You said when you were younger, you were doing a lot more creative stuff. And then you got a little older, then life started life, you had a baby.
Right, right,
Did you
right.
get married?
We're not.
You're engaged?
Yeah, we're engaged.
All right.
Definitely 100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. Yeah. I feel like once we had a child, and even before that, it was the right thing. For me, and I saw my parents, this was never optional. Like when people like for me, once my wife and I we were together, it was like this is it. You know what I mean? This is
We're together.
we're together. You
Right.
know what I mean? So there's never a question in my mind. And then my son just kind of confirms the whole thing. You know what I mean? And I don't see us any part of it working without any one of us. You know what I
Mm,
mean? So
I
it's a
like that.
blessing.
I
You know what I
like
mean?
that. I
It's a
like that,
blessing.
man.
Yeah, yeah.
So then you had this son and you're with the wife for all intents and purposes. And then you said something that was pretty insightful to me where you're like, yo, I'm not finished.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I want you to open that conversation a little bit where you say, like, life, you could take a pause sometimes because there's responsibilities that has to be addressed,
Right. Right.
right?
And for men, sometimes I think that sometimes guys don't see it like that, like especially when you're younger. So I'm glad I had my son a little bit later on in life. He's 4, and so if you can do the math, you can probably put it all together. But I'm glad that I did because I was just at a different mind frame. And what happened was that I think once I hit 30, I wanted to be responsible. Just I had to have some sort of foundation in life, right?
Mhm.
So I kind of was wanting to let go of the creative and wanting to build myself maybe in a different direction.
Mhm.
Shout out to the company that I work for now. I've been there for about 9 years and I've grown there a lot. You know what I mean? But one day I just woke up and I saw my son and I'm like, this doesn't have to be it for me. You know what I mean? Like I could be a good
Not
dad.
done yet.
I'm
Yeah.
not done yet.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
still have more to offer, I think, the world and myself.
Mhm.
And what am I teaching him if I say, okay, pack it up and just do the status quo because that's like what's kind of expected. It's like, why don't you try to do it all?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
don't wear yourself out. Don't, yeah, don't do too much, to the point where it becomes exhausting or you hurt yourself, but you want to work to a level where you only have one life to live. You know what I mean? And when you, God forbid, when somebody goes, all they remember are the things that you did and how you made people feel. And so I just wanted to get back into the scope of things, the creative world, but at my own pace. And I wasn't desperate and I wasn't like the starving artist, like that you hear a lot about. People doing things that maybe they're not comfortable with because they need that shot, that opportunity.
Compromising themselves.
Right, 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 right. And God knows what's happening behind the scenes, but I'm talking about in front of camera.
Mhm.
A lot of times people say and do things that maybe they don't believe in because they need that shot, they need that opportunity. But yes, I have my job, but I have other things going because I never want to be stuck. I
Mhm.
never wanted to be stuck. And I also didn't want to stuck or put myself in a position where I became stuck based off my own thoughts.
Mhm.
Like you're a dad now, you got to operate in this way. I remember my son was just born, and I was like, you know what? I got to do something to supplement my income. And I decided to go to a golf course kitchen.
Okay.
Yeah, out of all
Yeah,
places. And
where'd that come from though?
because I wanted to supplement my income, and I said, I want to do something I've never done before. And I wanted to kind of work in the cooking world,
Okay.
like in the cooking
The
field,
culinary field,
the
right?
culinary
Yeah, yeah,
field,
yeah,
right?
gotcha.
But like in my head, I was like, I had never done that.
Right.
I was blessed enough to get this. Shout out to my old boss, Chrissy Bennett. She gave me a shot at this kitchen, and I started out there, and it wasn't pretty. I was in there washing dishes
Okay.
because they're not gonna like
Yeah.
just because you say
Start
you can
beginning,
cook.
bro.
Look, from the very beginning, and I wasn't 16 or 17,
Right.
but I just wanted the opportunity. And it's so funny because that led me from washing dishes led me into being like a prep cook, and I was there learning and studying and doing so much. You know what I mean? Just like asking tons of questions. Shout out to my friend Lena, who taught me a lot as well. All of the chefs there or cooks taught me so much. And then we started talking about one day just playing around like cooking competitions. And I was like, we were all like, we couldn't do it because we're like, you won't know your left from your right when you're on a cooking show.
Right.
It'd be too much work. And then I left the job. Work was doing all right. And I could, it was too taxing.
You left your first job or
No, I'm still there.
okay, you left the
Still there.
culinary, the
But
golf kitchen.
right, right, right,
Okay,
right,
gotcha,
right,
gotcha.
right. You know, personal things started happening,
Okay.
and it was becoming a lot, and the season closed down, so I left in a fashionable sense.
Right.
I didn't go back. She kind of understood my father had passed away, so I'm skating to say that.
Right.
But I finished out the season, and then once the season was done, I was just done with that. And then all of a sudden, these opportunities for competing came about, and I was like,
Cooking
cooking
competitions. Okay,
competitions,
okay, okay.
right? And I was like, hmm.
Where'd you see that? Like online? Okay,
Online.
okay, okay, okay.
Actually, a friend of mine, the second one that I did, so the first one I did was with ShopRite. I didn't win that one, but I was second place, first runner up. We'll call it that.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I think I'm doing all right.
Right.
And then I did another competition that a friend she just forwarded to me on Instagram. I was like, oh Lord, not this competition again.
Mm.
But then I go there, and week after week, I'm just doing my thing. And I think I have like this eye for like food and plating and stuff like that. It had to be developed. I remember there was times where my boss would be like, this looks terrible. You know what I mean? Or other people in the kitchen was like, what is that? You're not cutting the chicken Milanese too thin. And I'm like, it's fine, but but whatever.
Yeah, develop an eye.
I developed that eye. So what I'm getting at is that through those difficult times of working in the kitchen and just taxing myself, I developed like this culinary skill. You know what I mean? And before that, I thought I was like the air fryer king, and I was like, I don't want to be the or I don't because I could air fry anything. And I was like, but what about real cooking? What
Yeah.
about,
Real
turning on a flame, turning on a grill? You know what I mean? And I learned a lot. And I've always watched cooking shows and Food Network and stuff like that. But it was different when you actually have to like do it and do it not just during the holidays, because I'm a holiday cook. I'll cook something for the family during the holidays. But this is like, well, can you cook a steak? And what about lobster
Right.
and pasta to the point that it's not like overcooked? You know what I mean? And that it looks beautiful. So then I started doing the cooking competitions, and I was good. I won that competition. The second one I won.
Shout out.
Yeah, I'm
Shout
sorry,
out.
roundabout way, but I won.
I'm a champion.
Look, look, I think I'm good. You know what I mean? But one day if I ever, I would love to do things within the food scope. And what I'm getting at is like working on like a cooking show or something like that. That's kind of what I wanted to do
Yeah.
because I always felt like fathers are out there. We're trying to do so many different things, and I think that is helpful if you have somebody out there that can give you shortcuts and guidance and like best practices. That's what the way I would look at it.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
In terms of food.
in terms of food and in terms of life, but I might not be that qualified for life. So
Not yet.
I'll talk
Yeah.
right. But like, cause I don't think I know it all, but I think people look at me and they're like, that guy's doing some stuff that, that they can appreciate. So I will speak on that.
Well, you're taking risks, and yeah, I mean, as long as you're talking about things that you're actually practicing,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
The issue becomes when you have people talking about things they don't do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how to do that. I
Right.
don't know. Like, you don't see me, look, I'm laughing because I'm like, you don't see me on here giving fitness advice, but I'm working on it. But when I'm in that
I
zone,
see you in the gym.
look, when I'm in that zone, I'm in that zone. But when I take it easy, I'm taking it easy. But it is what it is. And like I said, life is life in sometimes, but life is also good. Thank God. And I don't have many reasons to complain. You know what I mean? But I try to stay in my lane.
Mm.
A lot of people will say, they'd be like, oh, he knows how to do a lot of things. That's because you don't see the things I can't do. Like there's a lot that I can't do. But I stick to what.
So give an example of some of your strengths. So
Oh, I think he's gonna say my weaknesses. I'm like, look, we gotta turn the cameras off. But no, I mean my
let me ask the question first.
no, the good. No, I know where you're going. I know where this is headed. No, I think my strengths are, attention to detail. I try to listen to people, and I genuinely care. I think that a lot of times people just don't really care in the things that they do. How you do some things is how you do everything kind of thing.
Absolutely,
You know what I
absolutely,
mean?
yeah.
So
How you do anything is how you do everything.
right, like,
Absolutely.
cause I've only reason why I rephrase is because sometimes it's like you don't get the opportunity to put your best foot forward, so you kinda have to halfway it, but it's
You
just
gotta do the best you can in the situation you're in.
right,
Yeah, yeah.
right, right, right,
That's
right,
life.
right,
That's
right,
life.
right, right,
Yeah, yeah.
right.
Absolutely.
So for me, I think my strengths are the ability to see that, and not for nothing, picking a winner.
Mhm.
I promise you, knowing how to build like the people around you up, and I cannot leave this podcast without saying that when we met, I saw you. I met you and Hugo Sanchez at the same time. I
Shout out to
recognized him.
Hugo.
Shout out
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Hugo.
yeah, yeah.
I recognized him, and I talked to him about the time that he was stopped by the Hard Knocks, the School of
School of
Hard
Hard
Knocks
Knocks.
guy.
Yeah, yeah,
Right, right, right. And I
yeah.
was like, oh, that was so great. And I loved how you were humble and you spoke to the guy.
Mhm.
And then he invited me to sit with you guys. And I was like, oh my God, I'm sitting with Hugo Sanchez and who I would know later on to be Omar and this, this guy who creates all this great content, business guys, and they're here in this Fat Joe event. And I'm just like, thank you, God. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
was a
man.
blessing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know if you at the time, you're like, why is this guy with us? But I was like,
Not
thank you.
no, no, no.
Thank you for letting me sit with you guys. Cause I felt like, it was a great feeling to be around men, Hispanic men that are out here doing it, that are out here getting it, you know what I mean, and learning, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I think the big thing is I'm very open to engaging with people that wanna grow.
Right,
I think
right,
that's my number one thing. I like that. The contra is my number one not thing is being around people that are small-minded and wanna stick to their way, whether it's functional for them or not, I don't really care. You gotta have the right vibe.
right. That's a pet peeve of mine
Yeah.
because it's contagious.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I don't need you to try to solve the world's problems,
Mhm.
but if you're trying to stop and limit me,
Yep.
because I'll tell you, there have been people that have been like, they'll say something like, "Why are you doing that? You don't need to do that." Like I growing up, nobody ever told me I wasn't good at anything. I think that's why I think I can do everything, because nobody was like, and I
So you had good parenting.
I had good parenting.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They tried, and now that I'm a father, I'm like, I had great parenting. I didn't know, you know what I mean? You don't really know
Right. You don't know
what
what
you
you
don't know,
right.
and sometimes you're like, oh, you could have had this, you could have did. They did the best they could with what they had, and that's why I'm here today. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So even though my father, like I mentioned, that he passed, but he still, I believe, he lives through me and my siblings.
There's legacy, yeah.
Look, when I'm talking to my son, he sees my dad, like so he's not gonna forget my dad. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right, right.
But you're right, legacy is so important. I mean, to like the things that you do, all of this, all this stuff lives on. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Whether
look, if you wanna talk about content as legacy, one of the first things that I kinda identified, so I had a grandfather who passed away when I was, like, I don't know, 19. Well, no, I was 15, 16, but I was very tight with him, right? And I say that to say I have maybe 2 pictures of him that I can look at, right? My father passed when I was 18. Maybe I have 3 pictures with him. And I can think really hard and maybe try to float back in memory lane to kinda see kinda what he spoke like, kinda, you know what I'm saying? Like
right,
that.
right,
But with this, if they care, my great grandkids will be able to be like, "Yo, that's grandpa.
right.
He was litty. Look at him. He's and
He's
his
still
yeah,
here.
he's in his
Right,
well,
right,
he's
right,
in
right,
no,
right,
look at him in his prime. Like I remember my grandpa when he got older,
right,
you kinda remember that. But now with this, it lives forever on the internet,
right,
right?
right,
So they could reference.
right.
And that to me was also a big play for me because I'm like, "Yo, man, that's so dope," because especially when I go back to my example where I'm like, "I don't have that." I don't say that for anybody to feel bad. I just say that that's the fact, right? Even my mother passing a couple years ago, she suffered for 8 years. I don't have enough videos and pictures. Like, you'll never have enough, right? When you try to remember somebody?
Let me tell you this. That's the reason why, and not to make it about something you know, but that's the reason why I think Bad Bunny is somebody who's become so poignant in this time with Debí tirar más fotos,
Mm,
right? Because it means that I should have taken more advantage of the opportunities at the time. You know what I
yes.
mean? When I heard that, and I always talk to my wife about like how important it is to capture the moment.
Mhm,
You know what I mean? I think about my childhood. And I'm like, there's so many photos that I wish I would have taken.
mhm.
And then all of a sudden I hear Bad Bunny in this album, and I'm like, where's my writing credit? Because I feel like I'm responsible for that.
Right.
But it's such a big part of my life. I had photos, but then I wish that there was more. And photos are just like a piece, a tangible piece of a moment. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right,
But
right,
like
right.
it's so to your point, like that's really all you really have, this content, whatever you're putting out into the world. We were talking earlier about being mindful of what you're putting out there because it can come back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also the good stuff has a way of reaching out the people that you're looking to connect with
Yeah.
because you're not trying to reach out to everybody.
No.
I learned that you don't
No,
need
no,
to.
your tribe will find you.
Right,
Right.
right, right. But you also want to, excuse me, you want to put stuff out there for them to find you,
Correct.
for them to be like, you know what I mean, to engage with you. You know what
You know,
I mean?
a couple of the coolest things that have happened to me recently has been when I've gone to events to speak at, and I'll meet somebody for the first time, right? Like, we'll kinda, like, will have been on a conference call or whatever, but I'm talking about, like, this in real life, and they'll be like, "Yo, oh, I wanna tell you that, I follow your shit and you represent us, and I really appreciate that." There's a large contingent of young Hispanic professionals that come from where I come from that may have ascended or not as high or maybe higher than I have, but they really resonate with it. And they understand. Like, I was talking to my wife the other day. I said, look, I understand the street because that's where I came from. It doesn't mean I'm staying there. Right?
Right,
It
right,
doesn't mean
right.
I want to be there now.
Right.
But
I get that.
but I
Yeah.
understand it. I
Yeah.
understand that's where I grew up. I'm not
Right.
gonna say, oh, I grew up, in New Rochelle or Westchester. I grew up in the hood. And you had to develop certain skills to live in those environments, right?
Right.
And those skills, they do translate. They transfer over to real life and business and this. Like, for me to tell, this because you're kind of similar in that, but also I say this to other people because they're like, oh, where'd you go to school? I did go to a good college. I went to NYU,
Nice.
but
Yeah.
that's not really like it served academia. It served me to show me time management, research, how to extract information correctly, and store it to take a test. It trained me in that way.
Okay.
But, going to the school in Greenwich Village and being around people that of much higher means than I was an eye-opening experience that expanded me mentally in a way and personally where I was like, I don't gotta be on the corner. Like
Right.
my boys, all they did was like none of my friends went to college. Like, like I luckily I was always good with academia and my mother pushed me. So
That's important.
so yeah, so I'm like, yo, so we don't gotta be on the block, drinking beer because that's what my
Right.
friends did. And it opened my mind. It opened my
Right.
mind up.
It showed you an alternative.
Yes.
I'm from the Hunts Point.
Something I didn't know.
Right.
Right. We didn't know. Like you said, we don't know what we don't know.
I mean, sort of, right? Because like I was gonna say, I grew up in the Hunts Point section of the Bronx, right? And we knew about college. My parents always said you were gonna go to school. I didn't know when, and I didn't know how. I didn't know I was gonna pay for it. I ended up going to Marymount Manhattan University over on the East Side, and that was a great experience for me because I was exposed to just like different people. Diversity in a different way that I was used to. You know what I mean? And it was like it was a creative school and I was around people that really wanted to be creative. Like they're serious about, whatever they're doing over there. Then later on, I went to Fordham University for grad school. And while I was at work or whatever, right before, we're not going to talk about the timeline of things, but we'll just say during,
In the
whatever.
1980s. No, I'm kidding.
Oh Lord, I was going to say, this was like, yeah, right before I graduated, then I went to the kitchen because life happens.
Right.
My father had gotten sick and I really wanted to try to see if I was trying to help. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? So
absolutely.
you do what you got to do
Yeah.
to make things happen. Um, but no, I lost my chain of thought.
It's
But,
okay. Well, let's expand on what you're saying. So you got a second form of income because you're trying to help.
right,
Right.
right, right.
Now, cultural differences aside and generations aside, when I went through something with my mom, I became her caretaker, her proxy, everything. I was the guy. And I had a conversation with one of my kids, and I was like, "Look, man, you know, me experiencing this, I have to think differently because I want to set shit up so that you don't have to go through this."
Mm.
That's part one. Part two is I don't think you built for this. And I no, but I said that with
That's
all
funny.
due respect.
Right. I mean,
They not built for it, bro.
right.
They're not built for it, and it will fuck them up mentally.
Nobody's built for that. You just go through it because you have no other choice. You get what I'm saying? Like that's life.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I mean, thank God I have a lot of siblings. I have 3 brothers and 1 sister. Everybody picks up the slack when the other person, you know what I mean?
That's
Like
not always the case, though.
that's not always the case. I have 1 son, you know what I mean? So in the back of my mind, I'm like, you know, we need more kids. But
Honey, get on this.
right, but in my head, I'm just like, but at the same time, I'm trying to put myself in a position in life, like you said, where they don't have to worry.
Mhm,
You know what I mean?
mhm.
And where we want to do things differently. You know,
Mhm, mhm.
but yeah.
So going back to the short film, tell me what the inspiration was for it. It's called la migra.
Oh, just migra.
La
Because
migra,
yeah,
migra, not
migra,
even la
yeah.
migra.
I mean, you could call it. I mean, the Spanish version of is la migra, but we call it migra just because I think people will understand it either way. So like I mentioned, I had kind of left acting for a little while, and I decided to create this like short film. I went with my son to Valencia Bakery in the Bronx, over in the Hunts Point section.
Mhm.
I put together this short documentary and we started sending it out like to little screenings or whatever. And so I met someone at a screening, shout out to Adrian Miranda, and we decided that we should work together. And I was like, I really wanted to do something with my son. Cause again, going back to the idea of capturing moments,
Mhm.
fotos y todo eso, I was like, he should have things that he could look back on one day. So film. I was like, he could do something acting
It
wise.
made sense to you. Yeah, yeah.
Right, like 100%. I'm like, I'm gonna be the dad on the side that's gonna be like, you should do it this way or whatever. And they're like, okay, your son could be in this. But we think after he got to know me, he was like, but we think you're the one that needs to really be on camera. I was like, and there's nothing worse than a parent telling the child they should do something and the parent can't do it. Like
Mhm.
that kills me.
Okay.
So I was like, if I'm gonna tell my son he should be acting, then maybe I gotta get back. So I felt like I was coming out of retirement.
Right.
And so we get on this phone
You
call,
dusted off the jersey?
huh?
You dusted off the
Dust it off.
jersey?
Look, that jersey was done. It was done. No, but I don't think you can never when you're creative, it's always gonna find you.
Mm,
It's just whether or not you're ready and wanna do it. You know what I mean?
okay.
So, we're talking, we bouncing off ideas, and then all of a sudden we're about to hang up because nothing's really coming. I'm like, there's this one idea that I had. In 2019, I was working with somebody and we were gonna make this film, and it was supposed to be about like people crossing the border. And
Mm,
I was gonna play this guy crossing the border. I was gonna do terrible Spanish, but I was gonna make it happen.
right.
And then he's like, no, nobody wants to hear you speak Spanish. But what if you played the cop? I
Uh,
was like, what if I played the cop? And he was like, "Yeah, we could do something like that." And I was like, "Okay, but the cop has to be like this." He's like, "Okay." And then he wrote something, and then I'm looking at it, and I'm like, "But he should say it like
you
this." And
fleshed out you
yeah,
fleshed it out.
just added to it.
Right,
That's all I did. Just
right.
added to it, and then we came out with something. It wasn't easy, and I don't think that on paper it's like what, but then all of a sudden we put it out into the world, and it's like the world kind of received it in a way that I wasn't anticipating. It was just for creating.
Okay,
And now we're looking at developing it a little bit more.
okay.
But as you know, these things take so much manpower,
Yeah.
a lot of effort. You got to have a team, and because
Scheduling.
right,
Yeah.
and especially when it's like pro bono and people aren't really getting paid what they're supposed to get paid.
Right.
But when they believe in the project, that's always a blessing. You know what I mean? So we're looking to do another episode a little bit bigger. If you let my imagination run, I'm telling you, this thing will be like, you know what I mean? But at the same time, we're just putting it out there, letting the world do what the world does. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? There's no expectations, but at the same time, in my head, I'm like, I feel like this should blow up, but I'm not in control of that. I'm just in control of the creative process and doing my thing.
That's incredibly humble of you, because sometimes, you create these expectations within yourself.
Mhm.
You're like, "Yo, God, it's gotta blow up or Imma rap," right?
Look,
Yeah,
that was me a few years ago,
yeah,
but I
yeah,
don't want to put that kind of pressure on myself.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and sometimes then you feel like the projects actually become pressure cookers, and then it takes away from the experience and
Right.
the enjoyment of the process, and that's the hard part where you gotta kind of enjoy it because it really listen, camera
Right.
captures your energy, captures, like, things that you don't think you're friendly or, like, I'll give you an example. There's certain pictures in my life where I was going through a really hard time in my life, and you can see me smiling, but I'm not really smiling. So that's I give you that example because 'cause I've seen it. I'm like, "Yo, I look weird there," and I'm like, "Bullshit, that was that year, and this is what happened." I understand, right?
Right.
And I can only say that because 'cause I've seen it for myself, and I'm like, it's hard for you to say it if you really don't see it. Like,
Right. I get that.
it's hard. It's really hard. So how has it been received? You've got a lot of feedback on it?
I've gotten a lot of feedback. I don't think people were expecting me to do that. When I was at a crossroads in my life, I'm always at a crossroads. Like it don't change. But
Stay at the
I
crossroads.
look, stay. We living in the crossroads. But like, I don't want to go further. I don't mind. But like in my head, I was like, well, at one point, I was like, should I go to the police academy or should I like? This was between grad school or the police academy,
Okay.
and I was like, so I took the test.
Motherfucker.
And I passed,
So
and I remember them calling me and all that, and I was like, I don't think I'm built for that. Not like in that way.
mm,
Like I said, my background, like you mentioned, you worded it perfectly. Like that taught us so much. We're able to read a book, understand people, but
regurgitate
also
information, yeah,
right.
yeah.
But also at the same time connect with people. And you learn that from where the places that we live. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But then I was like, I don't think that that's for me. And then years ago, I did like a little piece on a TV show called Blue Bloods,
Mm,
but I wasn't playing the cop. My dad was so upset because in the scene I'm like shooting at police officers or whatever. I was proud, but
Yeah, look at me, look at me.
my dad saw that and he was like, I can't believe you're because like for him, he's not distinguishing acting from like this is surveillance footage to him. So he's like, what the heck? And I'm like, no, but like,
Yo, what were you
right,
doing?
right. Yeah, exactly. He was like, why? And I'm like, but this is like, and shout out to my uncle. This was years ago. He had told me you should write. It's like
Mm,
he was like, if you want to play the roles that you want to play, you should write. And I'm like,
that creative.
I
That
don't
creative.
want to do more work. There's already enough work being an actor, like
Right,
and getting an opportunity.
right.
But when and he passed this like a few months before my father did.
Okay.
But again, he lives on with what he taught me and what he said about just writing. You know what I mean? There's a freedom that I feel because anything could happen. The only limitations are the ones where I'm like, we got to make this happen in real life. So
Right.
that explosion that you just
Yeah, the
saw,
physical part has
right?
to be
But I think
possible.
it's only a matter of time. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's in
AI, yeah, absolutely.
right, like right. There is AI and how we could use that to like leverage and to take advantage of.
Mhm.
But then there's also a part of me that's like, you can also write for reality. Like there doesn't have to be an explosion. Why not just, and you can insinuate the audience is so smart that they can pick up like, okay, I think something happened. The reason why that guy is kind of in the situation he's in is because of what happened previously. Like
Yeah,
if that's the audience doing some of the work, you know what I mean?
right,
And the
right.
writing,
And being involved.
right, 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not about spoon feeding everything, but at the same time, you want the visuals.
Mhm.
We want the budget, you know what I mean, to create, to make sure that everybody is compensated so that they're bringing their best foot forward. You don't want somebody who's working 3 and 4 jobs. Now they have to memorize lines or they have to shoot something.
And
That's
they're
hard.
exhausted, right.
It's right. And so you're not getting the best work. So if there was money behind this, I'm sure it would be something completely different. But there's also a part of me that's like, I don't wanna just get stuck. Again, not being stuck. I wanna create other things because there's other stuff that I can write is what I'm getting at. Other
Okay.
stuff that I
Other genres or something?
no, other stuff that I can say, and not for nothing, I also still feel like I would be in the law enforcement world. Like, there's so many different cop shows out there,
Right.
but I feel like there's something kind of missing, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't wanna say too much. Next
You
thing I know, I turn on TV and I see my show.
question for you.
Yeah.
You watched The Bear?
I saw, like, about a few episodes of
Yo, I watched season 1, I started cooking.
look, I tried to, and I was like, "This ain't r" no,
I
it's
started cooking. I
okay.
went out, I got the griddle ready,
Right,
grabbed a
right,
good
right.
steak, started grilling, vegetables, and I only say that to say that sometimes, visually, the power of media suggesting,
Right,
it can modify and alter behavior patterns.
right,
Like, I don't cook all the time, but you watch, you get hyped.
right, right, right.
Almost like you watch a Rocky movie, you wanna fight somebody.
Oh, yeah, I was just talking about this not too long ago. I was like, "Don't let me go to the theater and leave inspired." It's the worst thing because now, like, but I think that that's great, and that speaks to the power of just art in
Yeah.
general, whether you're a musician or whether you put out content or whether you're acting, whatever it is, you have the power to, like, inspire and also educate and kinda shape things. Like, the purpose of Migra to me is kinda like, no matter where you are in the spectrum of where you stand on,
What character you identify with is what you're saying?
no, but I'm
Oh,
just saying in terms of real life, like
okay.
where you stand on illegal immigration or immigration, however you want to phrase it,
Right.
there's humans behind all of this.
Yes.
You get what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
So I feel the responsibility in a way to talk about it in a way that's fair, right? We're not trying to be one side or
Not trying to
another,
be biased.
but we're not trying to be biased.
Right.
We're just trying to be real. You know what I mean? Like what
You
what
try present all facts.
what happens if you sprinkle in some reality in this? That's
Right.
all I wanna see, you know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
But, like, in a way that's, like, comedic, but, like, I've been cutting so many trailers just because I can. I have access to all of the footage and everything like that.
Right.
So I'm like, "What if it looked like this? And what if it looked like that?" And so, pardon my friends over on Instagram because I know I'm killing them with the trailers, but, like, I'm just like, there's so many different ways it can go, and I
Right.
wish they could see the script that we have coming up that would be, like, I feel like we're taking it up another level. Like it's like it was good, and
Mm.
you had mentioned like the first line, the whole thing about like
Give 'em
protein,
protein up.
right? Because I didn't write. I said let me say protein because the way
Right.
you're setting this up, look,
Yeah.
he just looked like he's just eating crap on camera. Like
Yeah.
let's make this for a reason, right? Like
Right.
he's got to have a reason. And then there's this whole thing where I'm like, because somebody's getting locked up today, and then I'm like, it reminds me of so many people I grew up with
Yeah.
that they're like, like F this and F that, and
Nobody's
I'm
gonna
just
get
like.
it.
And I don't like cursing on camera, but I think we're about to take a turn for the second episode. But,
Hearing you out.
look, I think we're about to take because I'm like, it's always been, does it serve a purpose,
Right.
right? And going
You
back
don't do it just to do it.
No,
Right,
and
right.
and it's going back to what you put on camera lives, you know what I mean? And if the people see me on there, first off, God is good, God is great. And so for me, I don't want to put something out there that people might be conflicted. But what I learned is that I don't want to live for people.
Mm.
I can live for people without living for people because if you dislike me, you're gonna dislike me whether I do it good, whether I do bad,
You're
whether
gonna find a reason
you're
to
gonna
dislike me.
find a reason.
Yes, sir.
So in my head, I'm like, if we gotta turn it up a little bit, we will turn it up, but it has to be for a reason. But I'm really excited for what's to come with that show.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really excited. Yeah.
I like it, man. I like it. The
Thank
fact,
you.
yeah, absolutely. The fact that you got creative out there and you did this on your own budget, right?
Well, a shout out to the director. Like I don't
But
know what he had to do to put it all
right.
together,
Well,
but yeah.
your team
Yeah, yeah,
did it
yeah, yeah.
basically, on the strength because I'm
Right, right, right. We all did what
yeah.
we, for the sake of the art. Yes.
Let's talk about the ability to publish your own thoughts, ideas, and ideations onto like onto YouTube, on social media platforms, and how that has changed dramatically. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people ask me in the beginning, like, this is my 110th episode.
Oh wow!
Yeah, thank you
Congratulations.
so much.
Look, yeah, that's what's up.
Shameless plug. And the reason originally was simply I wanted people that looked like me, came from places that I came from, or not.
Right.
Because at
Yeah.
for a certain part of my journey, like the people I work with, some people are very, very well, but they're very wealthy, and and they give me access, and we should have intelligent conversations.
Right.
But rather, going back to what I originally wanted to say was that I didn't see enough representation of people that I thought represented me,
Right.
and
Right.
that's why I started doing this because I felt that you know drink champs, all that. It's good for, like, for what it is.
Gotcha.
It's just my and no, if they wanna cancel me or they wanna fight, Nori, come see me. Like, it's the smoking, the drinking, I'm like, "Yo, that's not us. That's not me. That's not me.
It's not
That's
you.
somebody
It's
else."
not me. You know
Right.
what I
So,
mean?
like,
Yeah.
I was like, "I don't fuck with that." Like, it
Right.
becomes
I mean, there's a lot of intelligence there too. There's the whole like Jim Jones podcast, Fabulous, Dave East, like they're doing a lot there too, Mano.
Mhm.
And I saw what they were doing because I don't work far from where they're located,
Okay.
right? Actually, I'm right across the street.
Okay.
But I'm glad that they're creating content,
They're
putting
doing
stuff
something.
out there, they're having these discussions and conversations. I think it's important. But we can subscribe to so many different things. You want the guy that's all about business because we need to learn.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about what you're saying is contributions, right? Like
Mhm.
everybody can contribute to the betterment of me. You know what I mean? Like if you got something to teach me, I'm willing to listen,
Mhm.
but then sometimes you want to be entertained, and so I get that. But I think you're serving in a space where it's like a multi-purpose thing, you know what I mean? And it's beautiful.
Well, that and also I'm also fighting the preconceptions and the, unconscious biases out there that, Puerto Rican kids from the Bronx, can't open up banks. Puerto Rican kids, they can't be millionaires. They can't be and it's not because I'm out here driving a Ferrari. It's yo, you can accomplish these things. You can go to school and still be cool. You don't have to be like you can't subscribe to one way of thinking. And that to me was always the big thing. Like, when I was in elementary school, I was in always, all the honor classes. My friends who I grew up with at 2800 Jerome, shout out to Jerome, they were DEFs. So we would walk to school together when they went to
What's
school.
the DEF?
I'll get to it. So you got A, B, C, D, E, F, right? So
Oh,
I was in the A classes, right? So
gotcha.
when they went to school, we would walk together. But
Right,
as when we got to the schoolyard, I made it right because I had to go line up with my class, and they made a left, and they
right.
line, and that's what it was. But I didn't grow up in a different place.
Right. That's a metaphor for life.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all kind of are on this journey together until kind of we're not. But you never can get so far that you don't think you won't end up right back, that you think that these people won't be the people that will embrace you, because you never know. You need people to get anything kind of off the ground and running. You need the people to support, you know what I mean? And that could come from anywhere. You talked about being educated and going to NYU and how that and the people that have contributed to you and where you are today. I feel like one of the biggest things that happened to me in getting into acting was seeing people that were going after their dreams. You know
Mhm,
what I mean? Like I remember years ago, I worked with somebody, his name is Donald Glover, right? Childish Gambino.
mhm.
we were working as extras on for a MTV commercial, right? Nobody knew who he was,
Mhm.
but I was so proud of him. He in the middle of
He was
this
still new to it.
huh?
He was still new to
Oh,
it, or
we
was he
were both
established?
no, we were both brand new to it.
Brand new to it. Okay.
Brand new. He didn't he I didn't so I knew him as an extra in a classroom,
Mhm.
right? This is before any of that.
Right.
But I was just remember a black guy, young black guy, and he was talking about going to NYU and doing comedy. And I was like, tell me more. Like, just like I was just listening. My mind was blown.
Right.
Then a few years later, he's like, and we became friends. We took photos just because, like I said, I always could pick a winner. It's just something about how people speak. They're passionate. They care about what they're doing. So we became kind of like friends after that. At least to me, he was my friend. You
Right.
know what I mean? Later on, he invited me out to his shows. And I remember one day I'm in school and somebody's like, oh, they're showing these videos. I'm like, that's Donald. They're like, who? I'm like, Donald. They're like, how do you know him? And then I wrote to him. I'm like, what's going on? You're doing all these videos? And he's like, yeah. And then he asked me to go out to his show and everything like that. But it showed me that things are possible. I was just proud of what he was doing at that time. He
Right.
was a young kid in NYU doing his thing. And then later on, he went to do so many great things. He continues to do great things.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just one example. Oh man, I'm like, I can't leave out of here without talking about Jennifer Lopez because without her, like, for me, she's like such a big influence in being from the Bronx and making it happen. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, and she's like, she taught us for me how to navigate in this space. You know what I mean? Like, really being a creative and not being disrespectful and nasty, being like a goal setter. If you watch any of her interviews, it's always inspirational.
Mhm.
Shout out to Jennifer Lopez. Shout out. I got to say that. I can't leave without saying that. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, listen, and not only that, she also went from just being a dancer to a singer to a business person,
Right.
right? And
Right.
now
Right.
she's controlling her narrative. She can pick her projects.
Right.
I mean, her generating her revenue generation is crazy. She got the Vegas
Residency.
residency.
Right. 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 Yeah.
She's doing numbers on a level that few people can do.
Let me tell you this. I've met Jennifer Lopez a few times in my life. The most one that stands out is I was like working behind the scenes of this production, right? And we're returning the vans or whatever you do. It's nothing fun. It's like, I'm wearing like a black tee and some sweats. And somebody that I know, he's like, J-Lo's shooting right here. I'm like, oh, she's shooting. Like she was shooting a TV show. And all of a sudden she comes like with it like in a minute. She comes in from like a building. I'm like, "Hey, Jennifer." I'm like, I don't remember what I said. I
It's
think
me.
it's me. No, because I had met her 10 years
Also, you actually
prior
met her before.
and I had a camera, right? And instead of saying, Jennifer, can we take a picture? I go, oh my God. Like I just took, and then she was with Mark Anthony at the time. And they're like, okay. And then they just jumped in the car and I'm running after her. I'm like, oh my God, Jennifer, I love you so much.
Booker.
So I was like, no, I was like, you can't be like that the next time you see Jennifer. There's a
There you
reason why it
go.
took me 10 years. No, I'm kidding. So I go and I meet her this time. I'm like, it's been 10 years since all of that. And she's like, hi, baby, how you doing? And then I turn off my camera, like I'm shaking her hand, and I look like I was homeless
Right.
because I'm doing my job or whatever. And she shook my hand. She took the time to listen to me. And I always wanted to share that because I know sometimes she gets like negative feedback,
Right.
but people don't give her enough credit for how much she's. And I was like, one day I'm gonna work with you. And I don't know how, I don't know when, but and she's
Gonna
looked
have
at me. She was like, yeah, anything's
forward to it.
possible. It could happen.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I feel like she deserves her flowers. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
All right.
important.
I mean, listen, like you said, she does get a lot of bad press. And we'll do our best to clip this and make sure she gets
I thought
it.
he was gonna say, "Well, we do our best to delete this and make sure she
No,
never
no, we
sees
got
this." I'm like, "Okay, I
no, we
tried,
got to tag
Jennifer.
her.
I tried."
We gotta help you. We gotta help you.
Oh man, yeah.
All right, going back to cooking. So, is that a side business? Is that just a passion?
Oh, it's a good question. I mean, all of these have been good questions. I think it's a passion. It's also like a channel for bigger things, right? Because I would love to do catering,
Mhm,
but people don't like spending money. They try to shortcut you wherever they can.
mhm.
They want quality. They want everything they see on social media, and then they don't want to pay for it. I don't have no issue,
Right.
right? Doing beautiful things, but then
Within budget. Within
that
budget.
comes with the cost. You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? And for me to walk out of there and not make anything, I don't think that's fair to me,
Mhm.
and more importantly to me, because I'll work, but it's not important. It's not favorable to my family. Like it's not fair to them.
Right.
I'm gonna spend long hours out of the home, or even if I'm at home and creating, because everything is a process and a project and it takes time.
Mhm.
But if I'm taking away time from my family, I want you to make it worth it.
Right.
But no bigger, better way to do that than putting out either products, right? Like I would love to have like a line of like seasonings or even tools. And I've said this before, but like tools and utensils, because I think that that's where I could serve people the best. Like I like trying out new things and I'm like, okay, this is something that is of quality, and this is something we can put out there. And also, working with different, like, brands, that's
Mhm,
important to me.
mhm.
I've been working lately with, like, the Fulton Fish Market, shout out to them,
Okay.
and putting out just some content with and for them, and so that's been a lot of fun, and working in that space. If you get me to cook for you, by the grace of God, I'm like, "You're blessed," because it's not that I don't like doing it, it's just it's time consuming,
Mhm.
but and I feel like I'm good at it, you know what I
Okay.
mean? So it's like so it'll be worth it, but it's gonna cost, so, yeah.
What's the last event you did?
Funny, my teacher, this is a professor from college, she had asked me to do some, like, like, light catering for an event. She holds a gala every year.
Mhm,
So this was downtown, probably about, like, 3 weeks ago,
mhm.
and just putting together some stuff for her. I have this thing called handcrafted lemonade, which is a whole nother story, but it's kinda like an extension to the culinary thing,
Yeah.
and so she was like, "Oh, I love what you do with that," and then, mixed with some food or whatever, something that looks, and so we exceeded her expectations, I think. We did a good
Good.
job. I always try to put my best foot forward. I want people to leave feeling like, and it comes from, like, when my family, when we get together, there's no such thing as I like keeping things simple, but then at the same time, we gotta step it up, you know what I
Mhm,
mean?
mhm.
And it's something simple. It doesn't have to be extra. It could just be we bought flowers or we did this or we
Right, the
yeah,
experience. Give
or we
give
laid
a
out some caviar. Why not? But
right, give a little extra to the experience.
right, right,
Yeah,
right, right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So in the reality, do I see myself like I could see myself, and my dad used to say that he would one day get me a restaurant. And do I see? I think there's a lot of work when you do a restaurant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But I partnerships, I'm not mad at that because if I could work with people and help develop their concepts and stuff like that, their menu planning, I would love that, you know what I mean? So anything across those lines and just content. I think I serve better in the space of when I was on these cooking shows, they kind of like the stories, you know what I mean? They like what I'm the culture, the life. If I'm talking about Hunts Point, if I'm talking about Honduras, if I'm talking about my parents, I think I serve better in that space. People want they can learn from me.
They resonate with the story?
Yeah,
Okay.
100% because at the end of the day, like if you strip down all of that, we're just people at the end of the day.
Absolutely, absolutely.
People with feelings. We get hungry from time to time,
Mhm.
and we want, shout out to the people that can't cook, but like, and I never understood that. Well, I do. But like if you're cooking something, you step away. What do you think is gonna happen? Like you're just you're gonna go watch TV on the sofa and the steak that I have is burning. Like, but you gotta pay attention to the details, you know
Yeah,
what I
you
mean?
gotta
And
pay
you gotta
attention.
care. If you care, I promise you, your perspective on cooking will change. If you start caring about it, it
Yeah,
will
you know what?
change.
I mean, not that I'm anywhere near your level, but the little stuff that I do, you care that you want your feedback.
Wait, what?
You want your feedback. You're like, "Yo, how was it?" Like me, I'll be like myself, like, "How was it?" And then, you like to hear if they enjoy it
Right, right, right.
or if it can be fixed,
Right,
because I care.
constructive
Yeah,
criticism. Right, right,
absolutely.
right. I mean, no, I don't want all that. Like, if it's not your thing, like one of my brothers is very vocal about how he feels about things. And
Okay.
I'm like, you're gonna have to keep that to yourself. Because if it's not gonna help me, I don't want to hear it. Like, I want to be
What
delusional
is the
sometimes.
delivery bad? Is that what it is? Abrasive? Okay,
It could
okay.
be, but you know what? Why I say it like that?
Mm.
Because if you stop, right, you don't get better. You
Mm.
don't get better if you
Okay,
stop.
okay.
So in my head, I'm just like, I know when it don't taste good. I know. I know when I do anything and it's not good. Trust me. I'm the first person. I'm like, that was bad.
Fucked it up.
Right. So like in my head, I'm like, so one, I wouldn't serve that.
Yeah.
That's where people go wrong. Oh, I
Oh,
spent so much money on groceries. I'm gonna serve it anyways. No, throw it away. Throw it away.
yeah.
And that should be your motivation. Groceries are expensive. Let me not mess this
Make
up.
it
Right,
count.
right.
Make it
Make it
count.
count.
Yeah.
I think that's what pushed me to like, I'm like, we can't mess this up. Like,
Right.
now we're dealing with like, we're dealing with some quality ingredients, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So we want to do the right thing, and
Yeah.
shout out to my mom, like my family. They've just always been supportive and they taught me so much. Even though I said I learned later on in life, that's not 100% accurate. You pick up things throughout the years, you
As
know
you
what I
go.
mean?
Yeah.
As you go.
Yeah, yeah.
And then one day, all of it, you start combining it. And thank God, hearing you speak about your mother, reminds me that I'm still blessed and wanting and I know what it's like to lose a parent. So you want to make the most of the time you have with them.
Yeah,
So I asked my
absolutely.
mom 1,000 questions. She's like, she's my best friend.
That's
We
great.
talk all the time. And in my head, I just appreciate that. You know what I mean? So I'm asking her for best practices, recipes, and stuff like that. And then I also go out and learn on my own. I feel kind of like you, being exposed to like different cultures and just different part of town, different part of life,
Mhm.
and I picked that up with me. You know what I mean? So when I was going downtown, when I was in college, we went to all these restaurants. You know what I mean? From I was gonna say from the BBQs to like the all the way up. You know what I
Which
mean?
is now Dallas barbecue,
Oh
right?
yeah, that's when you
It
okay. So
used to
this
be
is different.
BBQs.
No, no, no. It's still the same. It depends where you are
Oh,
in the money echelon, right? So if you have,
I used
so
to
if you,
go to West 4th Street BBQs by NYU,
okay,
and
okay.
now I don't know what it is. I haven't been down there.
No, but like if you have a little bit of money, you call it Dallas.
Oh, is that what it is? Alright, I didn't
If
know
you
that.
ain't got that much money, you call it BBQs. Yeah, it's the same
I
place,
didn't know that.
but I
Alright.
know who you are based off what you call it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay,
No,
okay.
I'm slightly kidding, but there's a difference. You know what I mean?
Uh,
But like from there, all up until restaurants that I can't even pronounce. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But it was about because I really did think I was gonna own a restaurant one day, and just picking up on the decor, the ambiance, what it feels like when you walk in there, when you're like how the service is, what the plating looks like.
Mhm.
I've been exposed to so many of those things that I'm just like I would have loved to share that. So when you get something from me, you're getting all of that. And that's why it's worth what if I'm charging, that's why it's worth that. Cause you're not just getting somebody who didn't, like you're getting somebody who's kind of worked at this.
Mm.
Yeah.
What would you say is the type of food you do? Do you have, like, a certain type of food, or do you do everything?
I feel like I do a little bit of everything.
Do you have a
Uh,
strength, one that you enjoy?
a strength would be I feel like I could cook a mean steak and not me, but people have called me Lobster King.
Lobster.
So I'm just
I didn't give myself this name.
no, look, but it came from like hard work. Again, back like I remember working in the golf course kitchen, and we would get like a shipment of 300 lobsters, right?
Wow, yeah.
And we have to break them down, and it's like, so who's gonna do the lobsters? And everybody's scratching their head. Nobody wanted to do it, and I was like, you know what?
Why? Why wouldn't they wanna do it?
It's just time consuming.
A lot of
300
work?
of anything is
Right, a
gonna
lot
be
of
a lot
work.
of work, and
Yeah.
it's just you get dirty. And at the end of the night, I'm going home smelling
Smell
like
like
lobster.
lobster.
It's not pretty. You know what I mean?
Right,
So now when I'm doing 2 and 3 and 6 lobsters, that's
that's
nothing. But
whatever,
when I'm
yeah.
doing not 600, 300 lobsters, it's a little bit of work,
Yeah.
but that's how I built, and I put those videos online, and those videos got like a lot of views because I'm just like hacking and, whatever I'm doing just to take it apart.
Yeah. I always felt like lobster was more work than reward. Like,
Oh,
it's
because
eating, because you have to do mad work. You gotta crack it, open it, like, even, like, crab legs. Like, you gotta crack it, and you got, like, a little bit of meat, like
I feel like, well, that's where I come in because I'm kind of doing the work for you. So by the time that you get it, the lobster tail is already split and butterflied,
okay.
or it's already split in half, cleaned out, and probably stuffed with something. But I don't see it as work. I think if you're in there and some people like it, they want the claw, like the I forget what you call it, to crack the claws or whatever
Okay.
the tools they use for that. They want the
It's an
experience of all
experience.
that.
Right, right, right,
Right,
right.
right, 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 right. But at the same time, it's like, look, you can also buy it already. Well, not buy it, but you can get it already,
Done.
taken apart.
Right.
And that, but you pay a lot of money for that for lobster meat. Yeah, just without no
Right, because they have to do all the manual labor.
right, right, right.
Yeah.
But and then it's like you said, little. I don't want to say little reward. I think it's worth it when you do finally get it. You're like, okay,
Mm,
yeah.
mm. Haven't I'm not a big seafood guy, but I'm starting to become one, if that sounds right, because, like, I think that's a palate you develop.
I think I wasn't. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, because when I had lobster growing up, and okay, I don't want to put nobody on blast. Whatever they cooked was enough for me to be like, "This is not for me. This is
Okay.
terrible. I'm never eating it again." And I
Oh,
was like, "Wait," and then I kinda experienced it different ways, and I'm like, "Okay, there's something here." You know what I mean?
right.
But, seafood, I mean, I'm not a big seafood head, but, like, and I think I cook whatever I cook, I just cook it to the best of my ability,
Mhm.
and so I'm not like a world-class chef. I'm still on the come up, but I think that again, caring about what you do. So if I don't know something, I'm researching and I'm learning and I'm figuring out best practices to make it, good.
Make it the best you can, right.
Right,
I
right,
got
right, right.
you, I got
Yeah.
you, okay. Um, what about so you and me just talking today, the make sense for me, the whole make sense is TikTok or Instagram live in the kitchen cooking. Because you have a personality,
Gotcha.
you
Thank
have
you.
a skill set, and I guess you're gonna have to get people there that can comment on the food,
Okay.
but because I think that to me makes the most sense.
So I love that idea. I think it's funny, and this is why like I appreciate you so much because you work with what you have, and then you have the means to get all the things you don't. But like you make it happen.
Yeah, like
And I remember when I first met you, and then I was following you on Instagram. I'm like, this guy is going after it. He's making it happen. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, and he is probably coming from his own. You know what I mean? Like he funds probably a lot of it, and he's not. he's not half-assing it. He's not like, "Oh, I'm not because of money," like, he's making it happen, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
by hook or crook.
Look,
Yeah, make it
so
happen.
so for me, I feel like that rubbed off on me, but in my head, I'm just like, nobody wanna see me in my kitchen. Like, I wanna be in a beautiful
Yo,
kitchen with an
people
island.
love food.
Yeah, yeah.
People love food and love animals. That's the two things on the social media platforms that get the most.
Right, right, right.
They love
Food and
food.
animals.
Yeah, I mean, and if you have personality and you do have an acting background, so you know how to play to the camera, right? And you can probably
We try.
no, it's a skill, right?
Gotcha.
So like, yo, there it is. You got your tool.
No, I love that. I mean, I do let me not give you all the credit. We look,
I discovered you.
I don't right, and then there goes my 10% management fee, but 15 because you know what you're doing. But no, I put out content, but I think that it's I don't really do look going live in the kitchen.
Yeah.
It's kind of dangerous because in my head I'm like because you're doing so many different things. You
Yeah.
got the fire, you got the pot, you got the food. You don't want it to burn, and I do it all the time. But I just create the videos and put them out afterwards.
Okay.
But like with an island,
Control chaos.
look. We just shot something like, for Fulton Fish Market, and it was a beautiful kitchen. I loved it. You
Okay.
know what I mean? It's a different space. And then when you're working with people, again, somebody might call this an excuse, but because I've been there, I know what it's like when you're trying to do 10 million things at once. And it's like, uh, I think with that, I would love a team, just a small team. Ain't
Like a
gotta be
sous
big.
chef, prep.
No, I got
Oh,
the
oh,
equipment. I'm
you're
just
talking about
like when it
production,
comes right, a
I got
production
you.
team,
I
right,
got
right,
you. I
right,
got
because that's where it becomes a little bit more work.
you. Yeah, like different angles.
Right,
So
right.
yeah,
Because people don't wanna just see this, they wanna see the food, they want
right.
and so me holding the food look, I use gloves because for me, I just like, if I'm dealing with, like, raw chicken, I love
Yeah,
gloves,
of course.
but then don't put your bare hands on raw chicken and put that online. The internet is coming after you. Like, the internet police, people that don't have no food certification, nothing like now all of a sudden, they become God's gift to culinary, so
I'm gonna forward you somebody's Instagram. Eric, you know what I'm talking about right now. Bachi. My man was smoking a blunt on top of his pizza dough.
I'm sure that went viral.
Oh man,
Man,
he's a good dude. I'm gonna have him on the show soon.
that's cool.
We've been talking about he's somebody who I feel goes to be his own drum,
Okay.
which I can resonate with because I feel like I do the same thing.
Right,
You
I
know,
think creatives are kinda like that. We have to be.
yeah, yeah. I think that's what differentiates us, and that's what makes us special. The conduit of how we get there is another thing, but
Oh, yeah.
you can see if somebody's genuinely creative and crafty and intuitive, right? Because
Right.
that becomes the thing. You got to kind of know who you're playing to, what
Yeah.
your audience is, and what they want, right? So
I'm so glad you said that because I think it comes out anyways. You know what I mean? Like for me, it's the same thing when I'm in the office. You know what I mean? Yes, there is process and procedure. That's 100%. But how do you come across in what you're doing? You know,
how
and
do you
how do
convey
you
your message?
right convey your message, stamp it, brand it. You know what I mean? And make it so that people are like they are looking at something that almost you can replicate it with others. That's important, but it's also like there's something about putting your stamp on it. You know what I
Right.
mean? People are like, there's a brand of, we know that it's great because Eric was a part of it.
Yeah,
That's important to me. Look,
yeah.
if I do anything, it has to be great. Not just because I know that opportunities are tied to how you do things, right? Nobody wants to work with anybody that's
It's a great
mediocre.
statement. Yeah, it's a great
Nobody
statement.
works with anybody that's mediocre, right?
Nobody looks to work with somebody who's mediocre.
I mean, you may end up with somebody.
Yeah, but not. But
They
that's
might have
not.
tricked
It's not
you.
on purpose, right? Not
Right.
on purpose. Nobody work with this fucking
Never on
slap
purpose,
on
right?
purpose, right?
Look, I've made mistakes. I'm not gonna look in the camera. I made mistakes, but yeah, but it was a mistake, Lord.
I've worked
But
with less than pros.
look, people that lie, people that they say they say one thing and they do another, and it's the things you can't really teach.
Mm.
I can teach a lot, but I can't teach certain things. You know what I mean?
Like
I can't,
integrity.
like I can't write, so
Yeah.
I can't teach you like the the reasons why you should tell the truth. Like if we're going there,
Mhm.
this is not the right space for you.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great statement. It's a great statement.
Yeah.
Yeah. The intangibles are integrity, professionalism, and pride, right? You
Right,
gotta
right,
have
right.
pride in what you're doing.
Right.
Um, and you can't teach that because some people work like people that work at larger companies will work till 5 o'clock. That's it. 5 o'clock, you got me. Then I'm done after this.
Right.
Other people will look to how little can I do during this 8-hour shift that I'm getting paid for to just get out of here. And then there's others that, yo, I'm here, they're paying me, I'll make it happen. I'm gonna give them what I got. And
Right.
and good things happen from that.
Right.
I feel like the third classification of people is usually the one that excel.
Right.
Because yes, they understand there's a barter of money for time, but what quality you bring,
Right.
and that's the that's what separates everybody.
Right. I mean, to boil it down, it's the person who's hungry, right? Like, I always had something to prove, like to myself, to my parents. They always expected, like, they had high expectations of me, right? So, and then the way I'm trying to build my son, and I just recently heard this, maybe about a year or two ago, that you should tell the child that they should be proud of themselves.
Mhm,
You don't want them looking to other people for validation,
mhm.
right? So, but I'm already stuck with the curse. So in my head, I'm just kind of like, right, like, look, I'm trying to be good, you know what I mean? But and I do that a lot at work, but I think that it's important because it's helped me grow. I started out there, and then worked my way to VP of the company,
Nice, nice.
and it hasn't been easy, but I'm appreciative of the place that I work because they've recognized the work. And you were saying something about, working till 5. And then what are you doing afterwards? You know what I mean? My whole thing was about getting better. You know what I mean? Getting better, and it's not about I never understood people kicking people out of the way to be in the number one spot. It's like why don't you don't have to bring people with you, because what I've learned is you try to help people, and those same people that you tried to help are the ones that are like, now it's your turn to get some help, and then they're like kicking you down the cliff. So I'm like, whoa. But again, judgment of character, which you when you said that, I need to be better at that. But at the same time, it's like helping the people around you and just putting your best foot forward. I guess if I keep coming back to that, it's for a reason,
Mhm.
because I feel like that's what leads to success. You know what I mean? And other people are always recognizing whether you're doing good or whether you're not. They're watching. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're watching.
People are always watching, and then the real ones, I consider myself a real one just in case you are wondering out there.
Too, yeah.
They look to assist where they can,
Right.
with no ulterior motive, and
Right.
that becomes the game
They
changer.
want to be of value.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's who I am in my job. Like, I want to be of value. I want to be, and I want to learn as much as possible. Like
Mhm.
my boss, the two of them, like they put so much in me to learn. And they don't have to be like, oh, Eric, by the way, get a paper and pen, and this is what you. I just watch. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
And I see how they're
Studying.
studying 100%. And then what am I doing on my own time? Like, that's where we met. That was my own time. I
You're
wasn't
trying to
getting
grow.
paid for
You're
that.
trying to
But
grow.
I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be ahead. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
because the world is competitive. Like we were talking about ShopRite, like dressing is part of it, because I'm not a big person on like, oh, you got to do that. Like, you can wear simple clothes and it will still speak. It doesn't have to be expensive. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the mindset and the attitude when if you really wanna break that down, right?
Let's do it.
If you don't care what you look like to a person who's supposed to pay you,
Mm.
then what do you care about everything else?
Right,
You
right. I
know?
get that. Right.
Yeah, somebody if you're saying, "Hey, I'm worth something," you don't know me, but I like the opportunity to contribute to your company.
Right.
If I show up in what do you call those things they wear on their head?
The Rolos,
The
the Doobie and Pippins. I
yeah,
seen
yeah,
Doobie
the
and
whole
Pippins.
thing with
Yeah, it was
flip
a lot.
flops.
Flip flop. I thought I was at the airport. Even now, they're banning that at the airport. Where?
He dropped off
How?
the airport.
PJs,
Yeah.
tank tops,
Yeah, yeah, so
tank
it
tops.
becomes that, so what do you expect, man? Did you really wanna get the job? Probably
No,
not.
it's like you just showed up and
Mhm.
you're looking for a reason to be like, "Oh, they're not
They don't
hiring."
like me.
Right,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like, but did you even try?
Did you look in the mirror? Would you like you? Would you hire you?
Would you hire you? Ask yourself that question.
That becomes
I just told my boss the other day, I was like, "I wish I could hire me." And he was like, he did that, he laughed. He's like, "What?" I'm like, "'Cause I know me." You know what I mean? It's so things are important to me. Nothing more important to me that there's somebody that I work with, and I'm like, "This is your job. This is
mm,
how you fund your life. What maybe you have other streams of income, and that's okay."
mm,
But, like, in my head, I'm like, "But how you have your job," like, and I know I do, but, like, the way you do your job, that should matter to you. You know what I mean? And if it's this is like, again, with the crossroads, you may not be here forever, but this is a part of your journey, and you need the people to vouch for you to say, "You know what? He was good. While he was here, he was good." You know what I mean? And if you don't have that, good luck, you
yeah.
know?
Mindset and your attitude, and this is me speaking as CEO right now, right, is everything. But
Right.
you can't teach hunger, you can't teach innovation, you can't teach, persistence, you can't teach those things.
Right.
You could teach a person how to read something, you can't teach a person how to show up on time. You
Mhm.
can't teach a person how to look for solutions. You can't teach a person to work hard. You
Right.
can't teach that.
And you don't have that kind of time. It's like you said, speaking as a CEO, I'm not a CEO, you are.
Yeah.
But, like, you don't have that kind of
Yeah,
time. Like,
yeah.
I'm here to bring
Well,
solutions. You get
because
what I'm saying?
the thing that I find is that everybody wants to be in the, leadership, right? I'll use that example. Leadership is not a flex. Leadership is a fucking responsibility.
It is.
Leadership is a responsibility to you, your family, your company. the people that you work with, the other companies that work strategically with you. Like,
Right.
it's a heavy responsibility.
Yeah.
And everybody wants the title, but nobody wants the responsibilities that come with the title. It's almost like, being the head of a household, right?
Right.
You want to be the head of the household. Like I tell my kids in their 20s and stuff like that, you're not the man here.
Oh,
I'm the man.
that's a tough
I
age.
said, I'm the man here,
Right,
right?
right,
This,
right,
I pay the bills, this is what I'm saying. You don't
right,
like it, there's a door.
right.
And I don't say that to flex. I say that to you. Let me just put this out there. Let's just be very clear because you're going to be a man eventually. You're going to have your own thing and you're going to have to learn how to communicate. And these things are very absolute. It's not negotiation with this, right?
Right.
This is what it has to be. So going back to like everybody want, oh, like, I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship was truly sensationalized over the last decade. Everybody's an entrepreneur,
Right.
but they're really not, and that's okay. But you have to be able to identify that. That you have to, man, you can't even wake up to go to school on time. You're gonna be an entrepreneur, like,
Right,
you know what I'm
right,
saying? Like,
right. And there's a certain discipline that comes along with all of that, you know what I mean? And especially if you wanna be successful at it. Because there's people that they will say they are an entrepreneur, right? But then it's like, but what do you actually
I'm in between jobs.
wow, that's a oh Lord. That's a tough spot to
You
be in.
said, "Oh Lord," no,
Right,
but
right, right. Look,
no.
because
So what do you actually do? Well, I'm in between ideas, or I'm in
right.
between.
I mean, and that's okay. Like, let's say if you're like, young,
Mhm.
I'm not saying I'm old, but I'm saying like at a certain point, especially when you're responsible for a family, for more than just yourself, and that can come at any age.
Yes,
You
yes,
know what I mean?
yes.
Then you have the responsibility to be a little bit more particular. You know what I mean?
Responsibility and maturity. So maturity, I believe, is dictated by responsibility.
Oh, you said the M word, but
Yeah.
yeah,
No, maturity is dictated by responsibility. You don't have to be mature until you have to be,
yeah,
right? So I had to be mature at 14. At 12, I was working, right? My mom didn't speak English. Like I had to help, I had to contribute. So I had to grow up fast. And my kids, I made it a purpose that they didn't have to do it as early as I do, but they still have to do it. And it becomes that, right? And I'm talking about my personal kid. Like, I'm not trying to educate a kid who's coming to me for a job. Bro, that should have been done at home. Like, like, I'm not telling you how to dress. I'm not telling you to show up on time. I'm not telling you to show up and not smell like weed. That's not my job, bro.
right, right,
Like, you wanna come here and make money, you wanna make six figures? This is how it would start,
right,
but we
right,
already started on the wrong foot. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, like, it's a big thing, and I wanted to have this conversation with you because of that one piece of content you made. That
Wait, so out of everything that no, I'm talking like in my head, I'm like, look, I was never thinking that we were going to talk about that. Like in my head, I wasn't. Yeah, I forgot about that. But I think this is funny because I always kind of find myself in a professional development space, right? Like in my mind, I'm just like, how do you put one your best foot forward, and how do you actually to in order to get the things that you're looking for, right? Because that's what this whole thing is about. Like, you don't go to work. Yes, you go to work for a paycheck, but I would think you also want to improve. You want to grow.
How do we increase your capabilities?
Right, but you also want to become successful. You want to look at it at the end of the day. And some people are comfortable where they're at, and there's nothing wrong with that,
Mhm.
right? Like making and doing an honest living, there's nothing wrong with that. But I also feel like life is kind of like a ladder. You know what I mean? And you want to move up. You want to be better than you were, you know what I mean?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, a
Absolutely.
year ago, you know what I mean? And then maybe one day you get comfortable. I don't know what that's like,
Mhm.
but maybe one day you get there. But until then, you got to continue working. You get what I'm saying?
What happens is, not to say I'm so far ahead, but I am a little farther ahead. What happens is you don't get comfortable, you start valuing different things.
Okay.
So in the beginning of my career, everything was money because I had none. So I
Right.
24 hours though, if I could be working 24 hours, I
Right.
did, right? And then what happens is you find somebody, you get married, and you're still building. Then you start having children, and then you start seeing them develop, and you're like, well, I want to be able to see them once in a while because you want to have connection.
Right.
Because as you're growing, you're gonna meet people farther ahead in the journey,
Mm,
right? And they're always gonna the real ones are always gonna kick game.
mm,
Like, yo, you know what you can't get back? Those times when you're feeding kids. Like they'll break it down. Like, what would you have done different? I wouldn't have been so focused on my business. Like all the big time people that I've met, yo, I would have gave a little more time to my family because you don't get those back. You
right,
don't get those days are quick. The years go fast, and all of a sudden they have their own thing. And because you didn't put the time in,
right,
because you're so obsessed with this other thing, you didn't develop or nurture anything.
right.
So and that's what comes back to kick you. So like I'm all about hustling, making money, but I also try to temper it with stealing because I don't ever have free time.
Mm.
Right. So you gotta make time. Yo, let's do this vacation real quick. Let's do this. Let's do that. Yo, where you going? You going to school? I'm gonna come down there. We'll have dinner down there. Like you make the time,
Right, right, right.
and you got to be strategic with that and cognizant of that because what happens is we become victims of our own success and our own
Ah,
design, right? Be oh shit is moving, da, da, da,
right,
and
right, right.
kind of stay focused on that, and that's cool. But always give yourself a moment of objectivity and clarity to be like, all right, look around, right? Look around. You feel
To
like
be grateful and appreciative. I mean, you hit it right the nail right on the head. Like in my head, there's been times where I'm just like, you got to keep this thing moving because you just don't know when it's going to stop. You know what I mean? But like you said, and I learned vicariously through guys like you know, because I don't want to have to figure it out, you know. So the most important thing to me is time with my family, time with my son, because I know I won't get this back. You
correct.
know what I mean? And then it'll if like when I do snap to reality, if I had to, then it would be harder. You
Mhm.
get what I'm saying? Because now he's not used to that, but he's used to me, you know, and I want him to be used to me because what I learned is life is not guaranteed.
Mhm.
So if we're blessed enough to turn around and one day we say, oh, you know, if your child can say, oh, dad, you should have done this, you should have done that, that's a blessing to even hear that. But
Right.
at least you could compound it with I tried the best that I could. And I did it so that you could live the life that you live. But at the same time, they're looking for the simple things, at least when they're young. I don't know what happens when they're 20, but like they're looking for time. Time is the
No, they
most important
understand.
thing.
No, listen, they understand and they are aware of their privilege if you did it right. But again, like you gotta lead your life in a way this for everybody now. You gotta lead your life in a way that's true to you, right? Not everybody has the same threshold, and some people, the big thing becomes you temper it because if you don't try to live to your potential, you end up resenting.
Oh yeah.
So it's
That's another thing
it's a
that
moving
older
target,
people
bro. It's a moving target.
right,
It's a
older
moving
people
target.
talk about that whole
I could have done this. I
resentment.
would have done
Right,
this.
right, right,
Nah,
right.
man. So you gotta find. And everybody's different. Everybody's different. Everybody's gonna find their own lane. Everybody's gonna find their harmony. But you know, it's what you do most of the time. I say this all the time on Instagram. It's what you do most of the time. So if you don't work ever, and then you're in a severe deficit, you got to overwork. Other things will suffer. Why? Because you are an extreme left. Now you're going extreme right.
Right.
So if you kind of like put the work in and do like use the words consistency, continuously, you never have to kind of like rush and speed up to catch up.
Right.
There'll be times, and I'm speaking from personal growth right now, where you have to work harder because certain things, because of personal things that happen in your life, kind of threw you for a left, and you got to work harder to catch back. It's get back to stabilization.
Right.
You got to be okay with that,
Mm.
especially if you want to go around saying, "Yo, man, I'm living the life I want to live." If you don't, if you want, if yeah, if you want to just
Right.
pack it up and go work somewhere, that's cool too. That's an
Right.
option, bro.
Mhm.
But you got to pick your poison.
Right, because in that you're still building, and sometimes you don't even really know. Like I didn't know in my 20s exactly what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to be a creative, but then I felt like I was just spending too much time. And again, shout out to my parents because they allowed me that. They
Give you
allowed
space.
me right. Like that it's not that it's unheard of, but in a lot of spaces it's not like that. Like
Yeah,
it's like you better get a job, you better be working, you better be doing this and that.
get to it.
But then when I hit 30, it just felt like I was making up for lost time. I had worked so hard in one direction. So we were talking about like acting, and I was doing at that time, I was doing like commercials and had TV shows here and there and just working, you know what I mean? And then a relative of mine was like, and I wasn't in college yet. She was like, well, what if this all just disappears? What are you going to do then? I was like, she has a point. I should go. Yeah, so I went back to, I went to school and then, but again, doing it for other people. But look, that was a blessing
Mm.
because if I had to do it now, it would be more difficult for me.
Right.
So I feel like I already built that foundation, then I just added onto it. And these things are still here. The acting world didn't go away, comedy didn't go away, podcast didn't go away. Like it's still here.
Still available.
And I right, like and I can still do it from a well-informed space, right? Like cuz in my head I'm like I'm so much more better now than I was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, especially when I was trying to act because I didn't have enough life experience. Like,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like now I'm really pulling from so I mean, acting is make believe, but you have to pull from real spaces and real places. And you only get that through experience and time. You get what I'm saying? So and it's so transferable because like playing like this officer that I've been playing, he's kinda like a little bit of who I am, like, sometimes in the office, kinda like he's not really he's serious or whatever, but at the same time, like, behind the scenes, I might crack a joke or whatever. Like but in real life, I think I could be funny, but there's no space for that in the office.
Right.
But the character that I'm playing, he gets to be, and he's not like me. I think he gets to be all of the things at once or whatever. But there's a lot coming. Yeah, there's definitely a lot
All right.
coming. Yeah.
So speaking to the camera, where can they get you if they want to hire you for a movie
Oh,
or
not
comedy
for film
show?
because it's too expensive. Comedy show. My Instagram is HRTV24. Thank you, appreciate it. HRTV24. You can find me on there. I'm usually I read my DMs and all that, or you can comment on a video or two. And yeah, I mean, you can find me on there, and that'll lead you to everything else that I do. So if they're looking for food or want to create food content, I would love to do that. I would love to also do shows with people because I think that that would be kind of like fun. It's not just me talking; it's me talking to somebody. It's kind of like this format.
So we gotta do a show on at a kitchen.
Show the kitchen.
We gotta do
That's it.
Guys,
That's it.
heard it here first.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. So Ask Louis Omar, all platforms. You know who I am. You know how to get me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it.